Welcome back to the Driveway Beers podcast with Mike and Alex. As always, we appreciate you listening. Please rate us on all the podcast platforms. Like, subscribe, comment, share wherever else you're listening, and enjoy the show. All right, welcome back to another show. We appreciate you coming back as always. Please like, subscribe, comment, and share. Leave comments if the platform you listen to allows you to leave comments. You can join us on our Facebook page, Instagram, Twitter, all that fun stuff. Want to thank Adam Chubbuck with TacMD.com. That's TACMD.com. Adam is the person you want to see right now in the real estate market, whether you plan on buying, selling, or even just want advice on your particular situation. Maybe you're looking for a rental property. Maybe you're looking for a second home, or maybe you're looking as a first-time buyer. Adam has experience in all of those areas, and one of the things I like about Adam is it doesn't matter if you're looking for a $200,000 condo or if you're looking for a $500,000 to $600,000 home. Adam works with everybody and anybody. I remember, I think a couple weeks ago, he sold a house that was $1.2 million. And he also helped a couple buy a home for, I believe it was $250,000 up in Glen Burnie. So, yes, he can handle the big stuff, but he's also willing to work with people new in the market. And that really goes to speak about his character. So go to TacMD.com, give Adam a call, let him help you get through a difficult process in the real estate market. All right. I got to remember what the show was going to be about. I'm sure we talked about something
5 seconds ago.
We did.
Trump's conviction.
Trump's conviction. Yes. And I'm sure this is going to be loved by everybody. All right. So for those of you living under a rock, prior President Trump, or do you still call him President Trump? Like, do you still call President Obama?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
They keep the title for life.
Okay. I didn't want people to think that we thought he was actually still the president. You know what I'm saying? Like, I didn't want those weirdos coming out.
Right.
But President Trump was convicted, I believe it was 30 counts.
34 counts.
34 counts. And the problem is, I think if you asked anyone on the street, they wouldn't be able to tell you what those 34 counts were.
No, but if you ask the media, who are now, they got the memo. Mm-hmm. So all of them in the corporate media except for Fox News, refer to him as convicted felon.
Yes.
Donald Trump, the convicted felon.
Yes.
Convicted felon, Donald. And I'm just waiting for someone like Jimmy Dore, someone to do one of those chop cuts where it's like convicted felon, convicted felon, convicted felon. Yeah. Just like they did our democracy, like.
Safe and effective, safe and effective, safe and effective.
I can't stand it.
Yeah. It's so coordinated.
Yeah. And when you look at it, because like before you didn't have that, 20 years ago, you didn't have an internet where someone would go and put it all together. You just watched your news and you'd see it, like that's just how but you weren't hearing it like all at once because you couldn't watch MSNBC and Fox News at the same time. Right.
You didn't have people jump cutting.
Yeah.
To show you all of them. And like, it's funny. It's like, it's, CNN, MSNBC, ABC, NBC, regular Fox News, not Fox News, but regular, like the regular
local Fox
News. And like, they don't even change the wording up.
No.
It's the same words.
Yeah.
Like safe and effective, safe and effective. Like, how about, perfectly healthy for you?
Yeah.
Rather than safe and effective.
Because it's neither.
Right. But, but you can tell that, like, someone buy a thesaurus.
Yeah.
And
the funny one is when they go and they say, they're brought to you by Pfizer, brought to you by Pfizer, right. Brought to you by Pfizer. So,
but the weird thing is, though, it's coordinated across Twitter, Facebook, like where people curate their news.
Print media.
Yeah.
All the television stations. I don't listen to radio, terrestrial radio at all. Mm-hmm. Nor do I listen to satellite radio. But I'm sure it's there too. So, but I wonder, who does it work on? Like, who does this, like...
It must work because they use it.
I think it works on, like, the old boomers. Like, that's what I think it works on.
But it's obviously working on young kids, too, though. Like, young kids want to believe whatever they're told. It's like they go to class, and I equate this to like that movie Good Will Hunting. Matt Damon's character goes into the bar, and the ponytail guy spouts off some philosopher, and Matt Damon goes, "Yeah, you're going to believe that now, but next year you're going to go hear about this philosopher, and you're going to believe this thing, or it was economics or something like that, and you're going to believe this, and then by your third year you're going to be spouting off about this, and you're going to completely forget about this guy." Mm-hmm. Well, that's what it fucking is.
Yeah.
Like, they're so desperate to be right about something. Mm-hmm. They take it from the one source where they get their news, and then they spout it over and over and over again. And they don't realize that, hey, that might have just been a theory, and it might not be right.
Right.
But I pawned it off as factual information. Mm-hmm. And why don't people believe me? Because you're a moron.
Yeah.
That's what it comes down to. But the weird thing is, though, is that if you coordinate it amongst so many different avenues, I mean, you're coordinating it on TikTok where the kids are, Twitter where the next generation is, Facebook where the old generation is, probably putting it on Nextdoor where the older generation is. Yeah. Then you've got it on
Nextdoor, Twitter for old people,
right? and then you've got it on the nightly news for the older people. Mm-hmm. If you hear it enough, you're going to think that's what it is because that's where you get your news from.
Yeah.
You don't think to look somewhere else. But at the same time, though, back then, if you said anything else, because some of those other avenues like Twitter, I mean, Facebook still is, and they're all part of the control mechanism. Mm-hmm. And so, if that's all you're hearing, you're going to believe it. Yeah. Because especially if you don't have any skepticism of the outlets that you're listening to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think my mother raised me to be a skeptic of everything. So I don't trust anything any of these people say, but it's, I guess back in the day when you only had your trusted nightly news guy, I guess for us the oldest one would have been Dan Rather, and then
for our parents, Walter Cronkite?
Yeah, was like the trusted face of news, but those dudes were probably controlled by the government too. Like, I'm sure this is nothing new.
Yeah.
So it's probably just been bullshit forever.
Possibly. I mean, and you got to wonder, how far does it go back?
Yeah.
Or is it something that eventually, like after Walter Cronkite or after Dan Rather, someone kind of, they were like, well, wait a minute, we can use this. Mm-hmm. And they just started incorporating it.
Yeah.
And maybe some of those older guys were like, no, we're not going to do this. Because back then, I felt like the anchor man, not to pawn off on Will Ferrell's movie, but the actual personality on TV had more power.
Yeah.
As far as what got put on the air. Mm-hmm. Whereas nowadays, the person that you see in front of you is probably just a pawn who loves
they're just
the paycheck.
They're just actors. Tucker Carlson used to work for CNN. He did Crossfire.
Yeah.
And then he got fired or left CNN and got picked up by Fox. So, and he was on MSNBC. He used to lead in with Rachel Maddow.
Right.
These people, they're not journalists. They're actors. They're not, you see everything comes in through their earpiece. And then when they're talking with someone who comes on and has the opposite point of view or the opposing position, they're just spitting out the lines that their producer tells them, which is coming probably, directly from some .gov email. Right. And that's, or some shady freaking unfoyable email server somewhere else.
Right.
And that's all they're doing. So, and that's where you see how coordinated it is when you see them, these cuts where they're all saying, what was the other one? Unprovoked attack from Putin with Ukraine. Unprovoked attack. It's just the same thing. There's not one original thought coming out of them. And then, so I had mentioned in a previous episode, that I was having trouble sleeping, so I'm sleeping downstairs on the recliner. Mm-hmm. So when I'm watching, so I have the TV on, and I think I had Fox News on, and I woke up, it was the morning show. What a buffoon. And they're just as bad. So whoever's watching Fox News And like they're just as bad. It's just a not as loud because it's just that's the only people saying it. I mean, I guess you could say One America and some of these News Nation, whatever the other ones are. But when you see it, it's like the way they act, like all the illegals coming across the open border. Like, dude, what are you Billy Mays selling freaking the leak stop shit that he sold, like
Flex Seal, yeah.
but there's more, and it's this, they just hit the opposite talking points, and it's like they're acting super loud for like, so that grandpa can hear it,
But if it's louder, it must be true.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like when like Joy Reid had someone on her show, and I think it was either Tim Scott or Byron Donalds. Both are black men, by the way.
Yeah.
But they're both Republicans. And Byron Donalds who was on her show. If you've never heard Byron Donalds speak, he's super intelligent. But he's also got like a way of speaking where it's understandable for the regular Joe, right? Not like preachy like Obama was, but like I don't know how to describe it. He knows how to relate messages very well. And Joy Reid knew she was not on the right side of this.
Yeah.
And so she just started yelling at him.
Yeah.
Just yelled over him. And because it was her show, she just kind of ended it.
Yeah.
And it's like, I understand why a guy like Donalds will go on her show, because he wants her audience to hear what he's got to say and hope that they can hear through the bullshit of her just yelling at him.
Yeah.
And I think that's a better way to go about it than just running from it, from the audience. Like, at least if they hear it, maybe some of it will sink in, and they won't think that just this constant barrage of messaging from MSNBC is just all that they hear, right? But at some point, it's just like, wow, it really bordered on disrespectful.
Yeah.
But the coverage on the Trump trial, I mean, basically, I guess from what I understood, the premise was that campaign funds were used to pay off Stormy Daniels from speaking out about an affair.
Right.
Or it was the way that the funds were actually accounted for.
Yeah.
From like whoever worked in the finance department didn't categorize the payment correctly. And somehow they ended up with 30 different charges and 30 different felonies for that.
So essentially what it is, the 34 counts came from how the books were kept. So for every single time that expense was listed in the books, that was an individual count. It's such a bunch of Trump charges. Like, it should be one.
So it's the same charge 34 times.
Exactly.
Okay.
So, but they counted it as 34 separate charges. It would be one thing if he paid off 34 separate porn stars, which I got to give the dude credit for that at his age. I'm like, all right, bro. Like, that would have been brought to you by Pfizer.
Right. No, brought to you by Viagra.
Yeah. And I forget who makes Viagra, but
it's Pfizer.
Okay. Yeah. So brought to you by Pfizer.
Yeah. I think Merck makes Cialis.
Yeah. So when I saw when you look at it that way, you're like, it would be like if you say you jumped off sides, as in football, right? You jumped 5 yards off sides, and they penalized you for every yard.
Right.
So they're like, for this yard, that's a 5 yard penalty. I forget what offsides penalty is, but that's a 5 yard. So rather than just having one 5 yard penalty, you'd have 5 25 yard penalties, like 5 penalties for 25 yards. Like, that's how this kind of works.
Yeah.
So it's like, if you went to court with that, just for say it was traffic, and you went to court and you had they had included all the lesser included offenses, just for an average Joe traffic ticket, chances are the judge is going to throw out all of the the little minor nonsense and just have the big one there. Like that's what, or you do it so that, okay, we'll let you plead to this and we'll drop all this other stuff. Okay, cool. But no, they went hard. They went after the guy hard.
Yeah.
Which is what their goal was.
Yeah. I mean, they needed a conviction because the guy had basically been in how many trials and they hadn't gotten any of them across the country. They got him for a lot of civil stuff.
Mm-hmm. And what people don't realize, the burden of proof for civil is much lower. Mm-hmm. Burden of proof for civil is preponderance of the evidence, and if you were to express that numerically, it would be 51%. So you're looking at, it's more likely than not that he did it, right?
Well, and you look at like the E. Jean Carroll thing, and it's like this lady didn't even remember it.
Yeah,
like if you watch the trial and read the transcripts, I was like, what? And then all of a sudden, like after she won the settlement or whatever the dollar amount was, the media was like, oh, 450 million, he's gonna be bankrupt, it got lowered to like 34.
Yeah.
And he basically put it up in cash, and they're like, well, look where he got the cash from. Where'd he get the cash from?
Yeah.
And so it's like they were just picking at different things. And it's like if you read the transcript, it's like there was nothing really there for anyone to award her any money for it. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I mean, I side on believe her, right? I side on that, but there were so few details. It reminded me, like, there were less details than what Blasey Ford came up with for Kavanaugh, with Justice Kavanaugh, which ended up being complete nonsense, too. Yeah. And it's just like, this seems to be like the Democrat playbook. You don't like someone, create someone who was near the person, say they raped you.
Yeah.
It'll be beyond the statute of limitations, but make it up anyway. Mm-hmm. By the way, they changed the law so that she could actually bring the suit.
In New York, they changed the law for a very brief period of time specifically for this. Mm-hmm. And I look at that, and if you're talking to anyone, so people who hate Donald Trump, it's the whole, well, if you saw Hitler in his crib, would you kill him? No, I'm not killing a baby.
No, yeah.
Like, would you? Like, and yet Hitler's a really bad dude. But I'm not killing a baby.
Right.
So that's how they look at it. They, in their heads, think that he is so evil that it's okay to do all these things. The problem is, that's a sliding scale. You know, so the next second guy that's evil, according to them, they're going to do that to him. And then do they keep going? And once you've opened this can of worms, like, you can't put the genie back in the bottle now. So you don't for 1 second think that the Republicans aren't going to do the same thing. You know, I think it's a very dangerous precedent. I'd like to think that there's going to be some people that are above take the high road, but this is politics. Nobody takes the high road in politics.
Yeah, but you know what's going to happen if he gets elected, and he goes after any one person. It's like all the stuff that happened to him will be like it never happened.
Yeah.
They'll never mention it, right? Like, oh, see, we told you he was a fascist. We told you he was going to go after his political opponents. Never once will they mention how he went. He was the one that they went after. And it wasn't just him. They went after his lawyers. They went after his accountants. They went after advisors. Mm-hmm. Like, they've put people in jail over some shit that they've been doing for years and years and years. Yeah. And if you try and go after them for the same shit, they're going to cry about it all. Like, and they're, well, when we did it, it was like this. Well, what you're doing is ridiculous.
Yeah, well, it's justified when they do it because Donald Trump is so evil.
He's so evil.
And, you know, it's just like using nuclear weapons on anybody is really bad. But then you say, oh, well, we dropped it on the Japanese. That was fine because how many casualties did we save by dropping the A-bomb? I don't know, probably a lot, but you also killed a whole bunch of civilians.
In a brutal fashion.
Yeah, like you vaporized they no longer, their shadows are burnt into the wall. They don't exist anymore.
Well, never mind that. The people that were just beyond that then have to live with like horrible cancers.
Yeah,
And
blind
just
and all
the-
yeah.
and yeah, and it's. But they're always gonna like. Well, you did it. Well, no, we didn't.
Yeah.
What do you mean? No, you didn't.
Yeah.
Well, it's not the same.
But their other thing is like, so you say, and I don't like saying, well, you've got Hunter Biden on the other side, and we'll get to him in a little bit. But they say, oh well, that's whataboutism. That's whataboutism. So you just make up something to dismiss. But it's like you're doing the same thing. Like it's not. But whataboutism is legit to me. Bill Clinton paid off Jennifer Flowers.
And probably Monica Lewinsky.
Yeah. I like Bill Clinton. I like President Bill Clinton. Like current Bill Clinton, and we also have to say that because I don't want to kill myself. So
Right.
I'm not going to shoot myself in the back of the head twice.
Correct. I am not going to hang myself with the rope that I don't have.
Yeah.
Magically.
But but it's the same thing. So, and that's what gets me is like, it's always this double standard. There's no, like there's absolutely no line they won't cross to go after this guy. And regardless of whether you're a fan of Trump or not, you should at least recognize the danger of doing this.
Yeah. For me, and again, I'm not a fan of Trump. I'm not a fan of Biden. But to me, it reeks of desperation because they're so afraid of having him be president. And I'm wondering, let's say he didn't win the Republican nomination. Let's say it was Ron DeSantis, who's more of a political insider.
Yeah.
They don't like his policies, but he's a political insider.
He's establishment. He's predictable.
Yes. Would all the charges on Trump have gone away if he would have just gone away?
I think so. If he had,
I think so, yeah.
If he had acted like every other former president, look how much they love George W. Bush. Mm-hmm. I'm old enough to remember the 20-year war that he started.
Mm-hmm. Well, with misinformation.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's not forget that.
Right.
Right.
So, but they all love him. And there was a great SNL episode. Will Ferrell had come back, and he was playing George W. Bush because he did a great George W. Bush. So he's standing there and he says, "Oh, y'all love me, but y'all forgot I was bad. I was like really, really bad." And they did. They forgot, and now they love him. Like, yeah. Oh, him and Michelle Obama have such a cute relationship. Like, they love him. They love. Of course, they love Obama.
Right.
They love Bill Clinton. When Bush 1 was still alive, they loved him. So I think had he gone away, I don't think they'd love him, but I don't think they'd be going after him.
No, and I think I don't know how to put this. So, like, because he's not part of the Uniparty, right? I think they just really don't want him to be around.
Yeah.
Because I think they are afraid of what he might put out there the second time around.
Yeah.
Especially, if he wasn't going to do it, all of this going after him, he's going to do it now.
Yeah.
Because you basically now poke the bear. Mm-hmm. Whereas, and to be honest with you, it's like, you're telling me this guy, you controlled him the first time around. You put all your people around him.
Oh yeah, it was all this typical. I mean, John Bolton was the.
Right.
That dude's the biggest neocon war hawk there is.
Yeah, he's probably dangerous man number one.
Yeah, Nikki Haley was there.
Right,
and you have you surrounded him with establishment hacks, and now I guarantee you he's not going to pick any of those establishment people.
Not one. And if he somehow manages to win the election, and I just don't think they're going to let it happen.
Yeah.
Whether there's some foul play or something, I don't know. I don't know how, but I just don't feel like they're going to let him win. If he does somehow win, I think he might get the Kennedy treatment.
Yeah.
The original JFK. And if they don't get to him, now, if he doesn't reveal stuff and he just goes about the 4 years and puts in whatever policies he wants to put in, one, that's going to make the Democrats look super paranoid for nothing.
Yeah.
Right? Now, if he does start shedding light on some stuff and really tries to take down the whole uniparty deep state thing, all right, then they had some reason to be cautious, right?
Yeah.
But that being said, it's like, by going after him, you've really opened up some people's eyes as to what they're really capable of. Because the charges on a lot of these things were just so outlandish, and it's just like, well, wait a minute. Like the real estate case where they said he overvalued some properties.
Isn't that like what everyone does?
But well, that's the thing. Like, there are other businessmen now, like big businesses, that might leave New York City. Now, whether they do or not, I don't know. But they're like, well, wait a minute. This is something we do too, to make business deals happen. Now, you got to remember, a lot of the valuations on these properties, the business owners, the seller and the buyer have no control over it.
Yeah.
The banks do. The banks have their own independent appraisers that do this shit. So now you're saying, well, wait a minute. Now we can't trust, as me as an individual, I can't trust what the bank's appraiser says the value is worth.
Yeah.
That I could be liable for what your bank says this property is worth?
Yeah.
Like, well, now the banks don't want to do business. The buyers of big business property don't want to do business.
Hell, the government overvalues your property.
Correct.
You get your tax bill,
Right.
like, your house is worth $800,000. The house is worth what someone will pay for it. You've decided it's worth 800 grand because you couldn't get a property tax hike passed through county council. So rather than that, you're just going to overvalue everyone's property and hope that probably half the people are just going to just pay it and not appeal it.
Well, the thing is, though, I mean, think about how many of these politicians have like 3, 4, 5, 6 properties. And let's face facts, they're probably devalued for whatever reasons, right? And then the value probably got inflated when they went to go refinance and take money out of it or whatever, You're telling me that other politicians aren't doing the same shit?
Yeah.
And it's like, you got to be careful what you go after him for. Because if he gets back in office, what if he goes after you for that shit?
Yeah.
Shit that everybody's been doing, but you decided to fucking hit the nuclear button and go after him.
Yeah.
Like, I've mentioned this a couple times on Twitter. My most lovely place on earth, which I think is a cesspool. I put out the example when Harry Reid dropped the number of votes it took to confirm a Supreme Court justice from 60 to 50. Or 61 to 51, sorry. And he did that in anticipation of Hillary Clinton becoming president.
Yeah.
Well, Trump won. He already did it. And so then he was able to put 3 extra conservative justices on the court. Because he only needed 51 votes. And in the Senate at the time, he had 51. So the reason why that number 61 was important was because essentially what it did was it made the president nominate someone who wasn't super conservative and wasn't super liberal.
Yeah.
Because you needed votes from the other party.
Yeah.
And essentially the Speaker of the House and the minority, or the Speaker of the Senate Majority Leader and the Senate Minority Leader would essentially kind of agree on who they were going to put up.
Yeah.
And now you don't have to do that, because if you got the majority, you literally just nominate the most conservative, most liberal person. Well, it hasn't been the most liberal person because they haven't had the opportunity yet.
Well, they had the chance with what's her name, Jackson Brown, whatever her name is.
Ketanji Brown Jackson. Yeah. Oh, so they did that with her.
Yeah.
Okay.
But Trump still had 3 on him.
Right.
So like, okay, you're still 3 in a hole. Like, you're still
6-3 right now.
You're pitching. You're down in the count.
Right.
It's 3-1. So,
I mean, the Chief Justice is the one who he kind of swings with both sides, but even then you're at 5-4.
Yeah.
But it's just like, you broke decorum and the status quo, thinking it would benefit you. You broke the glass in case of an emergency, and then the emergency was not what you thought it was,
Yeah.
and you lost. Well, you're doing this now. You're cutting your nose off to spite your face now. And I'm not saying I'm a fortune teller or anything, but if you, and they've already done it, but if you do this now and it comes back to bite you in your ass, don't cry to me later.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
You fucked up.
And it's typical of that side of the aisle. They don't consider second and third order consequences. They don't think what's going to happen down the road, because you're opening yourself up to this scrutiny for everything that they do. And you can't tell me that these people are living above board.
None of them are.
Like, my thing is, okay, well, you went after Trump for this. Let's do some insider trading stuff now.
Well, they all protect themselves from that.
Yeah.
So it's not them doing the insider trading.
Right.
But Paul Pelosi just happens to be the best investing, has the best investing record, even greater than Warren Buffett's success rate.
He's just really good at it.
But he's just really good.
Yeah.
I'm sure he didn't time his Pfizer purchase exactly right before the pandemic. Sure, he didn't do that.
Right.
Or he didn't happen to buy some no-name pharmaceutical company named what was that? The mRNA people, Moderna.
Yeah.
I'm sure he didn't just happen to buy a Moderna at just the right fucking time.
Yeah.
Like, do you really want people snooping around your family members, aunts, uncles, husbands? Like, now these people are not generally under the scrutiny of the SEC.
Yeah.
And congressional ethics and Senate ethics.
Congressional ethics, that's an oxymoron.
Sure. but like, they don't have to adhere to those things.
Yeah.
So these people never do it in their own name.
Right.
It's in the husband's name.
Yeah.
It's in the children's name. It's under a trust name. It's under aunts, uncles, friends, cousins. It's under them.
Yeah.
And you're telling me that you really want to open up that can of worms where some of them might get looked into and connected back to you, because then they'll look at emails and look at some conversations back and forth. You tell me, like when you open this can of worms, you really, really must hate this dude.
Yeah.
Because if this comes back and gets you, you'll be in the poorhouse.
Well, because they think he's an existential threat.
Oh, yeah.
They've been conditioned to believe that he is an absolute, he's an existential threat to everything. I mean, I guess that's what existential means. But in any case, like, he's the Antichrist. He's just the worst possible thing you can have. Which is, one of the things it tells me is that if that's the case, then the federal government has just gotten too big. It's the biggest organization in the history of mankind. And if the presidential, I don't believe, this is not what the founding fathers had envisioned. They did not envision this. They figured that people would be more concerned with their local and state elections than the election of the president. In fact, back in the day, it was the people weren't supposed to vote for the president. That's where the whole electoral college comes in. And a lot of states, the population didn't vote for senators either. You voted for your representatives. The governor appointed the senators, and that's why it was the Millionaires Club, because all the rich guys that were friends with the governor were in the Senate, the great deliberative body, and then the president was elected by both houses. Like, that's how. But now it's so huge, people really think, like, oh my God, I have relatives that think that if Donald Trump's president, like, their life's going to end. Well, at that point, you've really allowed this entity to have way too much influence over your everyday life. Because if you really look back on it, they're all going to fuck you. Not one side has ever done anything for the little guy.
Right.
So
I equate it to the mafia. One of the downfalls of the mafia was that they stopped taking care of their people. Not the associates and not the soldiers. They stopped taking care of the neighborhoods they did business in.
Yeah.
And so people would turn on them. Because back in the day, if Johnny lived in Brooklyn and Brooklyn was a Calabrese neighborhood, and Johnny lost his job, the Calabrese family would either put him to work or get him a job at the union, which they controlled, right? They were dropping the breadcrumbs, or when Johnny was out of work and
to keep his head above water,
right? They made sure the family had food.
Yeah,
they were dropping the breadcrumbs just enough that people kept their mouth shut because they knew that they were going to be taken care of for keeping their mouth shut.
Yeah,
it was like it was like minimum wage, right? At the bare minimum, your family wasn't going to starve.
Yeah.
Well, the federal government became the mafia, and for a time, they would drop the breadcrumbs through the 70s and the 80s. And don't get me wrong, there were some bad times, but they dropped the breadcrumbs. The wages increased a little bit. But then, I'd say in the last 20 years, they forgot to drop bigger breadcrumbs, and they kept more of the bread for themselves.
Yeah, and then the breadcrumbs that did drop were for like Citibank and General Motors, and they got their breadcrumbs.
Well, I mean, and you look at the wealth that the wealthiest people on this planet has grown in the last 10 years. Mm-hmm. You're talking by a factor of 10.
Yeah.
And someone showed the graphic, and it was like Jeff Bezos' wealth was like $7 billion, and now it's $70 billion.
Yeah.
Mark Zuckerberg was $1 billion, and now it's $10 billion. It was literally a factor of 10.
Yeah.
And even good old boy Elon Musk, who the right loves so much because he freed Twitter, his value has gone up tenfold.
Yeah.
They've essentially taken the money. The Federal Reserve printed money and just gave it all to the rich.
Yeah.
In some form or another. Now, that could have been because they gave out free $1,700 checks to the poor who ended up spending it.
Pissing away on bullshit.
And it just went to Jeff Bezos and Amazon.
Well, yeah, so the big money went to those, so all those PPP loans and all that stuff corporations were getting them too.
Harvard got one.
Yeah. So they're getting them. And then, so what do? They give the peasants get $1,700, which most of the peasants immediately went and pissed away on bullshit from Amazon. So it went right back to Bezos, or they bought a car. So it went right back to, so it went to all these things that didn't benefit them at all. And now the inflation that was caused by all that is killing everybody. So
yeah,
that they fucked you twice.
Well, and there's never been a country on the planet Earth who's printed money like the United States did, and then didn't see hyperinflation within the next 7 years.
Yeah.
Now we're still within the 7-year period.
Yeah.
We're only in year 4 since it happened. Or some say we're in year 3. Mm-hmm. It could be the reason why the Federal Reserve is keeping interest rates so high.
Yeah.
Because they're trying to keep inflation low. Mm-hmm. Or and it's not really helping. I mean, inflation's still higher than it should be. But you've got people out there saying, well, they should be lowering rates, and because you got some people who do better with lower rate environments. And this is getting a little bit in the weeds as far as economics goes, but if the Federal Reserve lowers those rates too soon, we're going to see hyperinflation like it was in the 80s.
Yeah.
And people that don't remember, mortgage rates right now are like in the high 6s, mid 7s. Back in the 80s, they were 14 to 18%.
It's like if you have shitty credit, you're buying a used car.
Right.
Like the next step is mafia interest.
Right. And when you think about it, a credit card right now, interest is like 23 to 35%. Mm-hmm. So imagine if your mortgage was 14 to 18%.
Yeah.
Now, right now, you got a lot of people with mortgages in like the 2s and the 3s because they got it back when, before 2018, 19, that range. Even 2020. The real estate market will get crushed because no one's going to be willing to move.
Yeah.
So the only houses that'll be available are new housing. Mm-hmm. And they're going to have to sell those houses at 14 to 18% interest.
Yeah.
Which is either it's going to plummet housing prices because no one can afford 14 to 18% interest on the value of houses right now.
Oh yeah.
So the house prices are going to have to come down. Well, that's going to affect everyone else's house value.
What I think is like when I look at it, like I could not afford to buy a house in this neighborhood.
Me either.
If I was in the market, even with all the equity I have in my house, I've been in my house for 15 years, and the value of it has increased. Like it's doubled in value since when I bought it. All that equity, I could not afford to buy a house in this neighborhood. It's nuts. So
the funny part is, so you've been here 15 years. Your house has gained 100% value, so doubled.
Yeah.
My house has gone up in 11 years. Has gone up 50%. That's enormous.
Yeah.
I mean
And what helped me is I bought it in 2009. So I mean the market was in the absolute toilet.
Right.
Like you'd walk in as a buyer and be like, you're fixing everything and I'm going to give you half what you're asking for. You'd be like, okay, I'll take anything.
Yeah. But the thing, like you said though, and I've talked to my wife about this, and I'm sure you've talked to yours. If I sell, and let's say I like where I live, and I do, I can't buy a house in this area.
Right.
Because I can't afford it.
Yeah.
Like the house next door is going up for sale within the next 30 days. And we were talking like, what are they going to put on the market for? And I was like, the price that we think it's going to market for, I'm like, my mind is almost blown.
Yeah.
Now, I also think it's the best house in the neighborhood because it's got like the flat backyard that's fenced in, and the house is bigger than most because they put in a couple additions on the back.
Yeah. And their backyard's like a square.
It is.
It's not this weird thing you got going on.
No, I've got like a weird triangle. Like it looks like a pie piece from Trivial Pursuit.
Yeah, and
it's
then
like with a tail.
And it's like your side, and it's the side of your house.
Yes, it's the side. Yeah, like I can't fence it in because it would look fucking stupid.
Yeah, it would be ridiculous.
Yeah, their yard would be perfect for a pool, though. Don't get me wrong. For like 20 minutes, we thought about selling our house and moving into theirs.
Yeah.
Like buying their house and selling ours.
So in 2009, I could have been like, okay, I'm going to give you 60% of what you're asking, and I want you to put in an in-ground pool and a helipad.
Right.
And they'd be like, okay.
Sure, done.
Only a helipad? Oh, we're ready to go airport.
Right. I'll be interested to see what they get because they already put a contract in on a house. So I don't think it's contingent. So they'll probably close on the other one if this one's even if this one's empty. But I'll be interested to see who moves in.
Yeah.
We've been like telling people it's coming on the market.
Yeah.
Hurry up.
Well, the rental market's screaming too because, I was talking to my wife and I said, we could leave and rent our house and damn near pay for a mortgage on another house, not in this area, like way outside this area, because I'm not going to sell it and live here.
No.
And the rental income from this house would pay for both mortgages. So,
the rental market. So, a while back, we sold our 2-bedroom condo that I had bought before we got married, before I even met my wife. We had it rented for $1,300 a month. I saw it. It was back on the rental market today. They're renting it for $2,000 a month.
Yeah.
That's $700. That's almost double what I had it on the market.
Yeah.
And this was like, I think we sold it like 3 years ago.
Yeah.
3 years ago. In 2 to 3 years, you're telling me that the rental market doubled on the house? Now,
Oh,
maybe
yeah.
I had it a little under rented at the time,
Yeah.
but still, that's ridiculous. I mean, I could have kept it for that amount.
Yeah. Yeah, I look at, some of these, the apartments near us. I just see what their 2 bedrooms going for.
$2,000.
I can't rent a 2-bedroom apartment for my mortgages.
No, right, exactly, yeah. No, I mean,
So-
like I said, that place that we had, it's around the corner from
Yeah.
us. It's off that little circle there. There's 2 bedrooms, 2 bath, ground floor unit. It wasn't anything special. It wasn't like the kitchen was updated, unless maybe they've updated the kitchen, but it wasn't updated. It was just a run-of-the-mill, dark-looking apartment.
Yeah.
2 bedrooms, 2 baths, had a washer and dryer in there. $2,000 a month. 950 square feet. Mm-hmm. That's nuts to me, man.
Right.
Think about if you had a family and you needed a 4-bedroom house, like that house across the street from me, that's still a rental. If they ever rented that at full price, that's got to be a $3,000, $3,500 rental. And it looks like shit from the outside.
I think you're looking at closer to 4 or 5.
Jesus, man.
Yeah.
And I think they rent that place out for $1,800 a month.
Yeah.
They rent it for less than that two-bedroom condo. But that's also, I mean, that guy was the original developer. Mm-hmm. He still owns 9 houses in this development, and he rents them out. They're all paid off, of course. Yeah. So, like, he's just looking for, this is just his income stream. Yeah. And I don't know why he rents them out so cheap. But I guess because you don't need to make a ton of money on them because you don't have any expenses other than taxes. But I mean, wouldn't you try and get the most money for it?
You'd think.
But I guess if you rent it cheap, the people don't bitch when you don't fix stuff.
Yeah.
So you gonna find another place to rent this cheap
they
in this area?
They might even fix it themselves.
Yeah.
And then the people aren't going to be like if they move out, it's not going to be vacant for very long at that price.
The weird thing, so the last people that rented it for like a year, and I think he kicked them out. I think he just didn't renew. He had that thing open. There was no renters in there for like a year and like 5 months. Mm-hmm. It was almost a year and a half. He was doing renovations, but it was like it wasn't like a whole reno. It was just like cosmetic stuff, and it just took forever. And I was like, this guy just doesn't give a shit. Mm-hmm. And so I don't know. I couldn't believe how long it took. And all they did was like carpets and countertops. I'm like, the
paint.
Fuck?
They probably painted the walls.
Right.
Yeah.
It took you guys forever to do this shit. Mm-hmm. And he gave 0 fucks. Now we think that the prior renter was still paying for something. There was some weird arrangement there. There's no way you just leave it vacant for 18 months.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think something weird's coming down the pike, though, between the Donald Trump stuff,
so have you
economy stuff.
Have you heard talk about the draft?
Oh yeah, they want to the Democrats want to reinstitute the draft. That's usually a Republican talking point.
And it also shows like the flip. I mean, like the Democrats talk about reinstating the draft for what bullshit war? Like, I mean, and here's the other thing: are they going to draft everybody?
I wonder if we're going to see. Well, I guess maybe that they're going from male to female, so maybe that would make more sense, wouldn't it?
Yeah, but are they going to draft girls? Girls can serve in combat MOSs now.
I mean,
to me as a guy, I don't like men are supposed to go fight wars, not women.
Right.
And everyone here. And I'm not saying that women are incapable of it, but I don't think we should be sending 18-year-old girls to go get blown up for some bullshit war. I don't think we should be sending 18-year-old boys over either. But, and I don't have any daughters, but if I did, like, no, you're not sending my daughter to go fight in your bullshit war. But if they can serve in a combat MOS, why shouldn't they get drafted?
Yeah.
I want to see what happens when they draft a girl. You have daughters, they come and they say, hey, your oldest daughter is being drafted. She's going to be in the infantry. I know your oldest daughter. I think she's a sweet girl. I don't think she's infantry material.
No. No. My kids are not. They're not that style of lady. You know? Like, you don't want them trying to fight anybody.
Yeah.
Unless you want my oldest to read them a book. She'll read them 20 books in an hour.
And people don't get drafted like into intel jobs usually.
No. I can just. She'll be in the Humvee reading a book.
Yeah.
And she's going to stay in that Humvee reading a book. Because she's going to bore the enemy to death with the Hunger Games. Like, we literally have to give that girl like 20 books like every other 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Like, it was her birthday. We literally got her the Maze Runner series and the Hunger Games series. Mm-hmm. No. The Maze Runner series and the Divergent series.
Yeah, I've heard of it.
Divergent, Allegiant, that series. It's a good movie. They're good movies.
If it doesn't involve,
I'm not reading it.
If it doesn't involve a stick or a ball, I don't know a whole lot about it.
It's
that's just for my kids.
It's oh man, I can't remember the girl that plays. It's not so Jennifer Lawrence is the Hunger Girls game. I can't remember the other girl that's in the.
Divergent's like part of that universe, right?
It's the same concept. It's like dystopian society.
Yeah.
The rich people hate the poor people.
Kind of like now.
Yeah. Except they make you live in like some looks like an industrial complex.
Kind of like now.
Yeah. Well, there's no drywall. It's just exposed beams all the time. It's like steampunk but weirder.
There's probably my sister lives in an apartment with a concrete floor, kind of like now.
Right. Yeah. So yeah.
No one's killing each other for food yet.
No.
Yet.
Hunger Games they did. Yeah, we just watched those Hunger Games movies. I liked them.
I've never seen one of them.
And then I've watched the Allegiant series or Divergent. I can't remember which was the first one. They were good movies too. I mean, I enjoyed them. I like those dystopian society movies, and I kind of laugh at them. Like I'd probably be dead long before we got to this point. You know.
I've always said I want the bomb to just land directly on my forehead.
Yep. If it's coming, I want to be the closest one to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. If I got enough time to kiss the people I love goodbye, let them take off.
It's like the zombie apocalypse. Like, do you want to run around fight the zombies or just become a zombie right off the break?
I mean, maybe being a zombie's not so bad. I don't know. Only one way to find out. You know?
Like, I mean, so you survive 99% of the zombie apocalypse. You're the last one that gets killed before, like, you're the last person that gets killed and becomes a zombie, and then you get killed by your friends. And then everyone survives and lives. It's like the Sunday morning champions. Like, let's not go to the tournament and win Sunday morning and then wait around all day and lose at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. We could have lost at 9 a.m.
Right.
And I could have gotten my day back.
Could have had my whole Sunday back. Could have been at the pool.
Right. So
instead of dying in the sweltering heat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you want to become the zombie immediately or be the last guy that... Because I don't have the cardio to last that long. Eventually, all the people that are slower than me are going to get picked off by zombies, which is like 3 or 4, and then it's me. So let's just get it over with quick.
Look, man, I've seen those TV shows where the guys have like actual survivor skills. I'm not one of them. So if I'm not going to be one of them, I'm probably not going to do that well. Mm-hmm. So why not be the first one out? It's kind of like the kid in dodgeball. If you're the first one out, you get to sit down and hang out for a while.
Yeah.
And you're comfortable. Whereas
you're not sweating.
Yeah, you're the last one out. You've had all the hope of being the winner, only to be knocked out last.
Yeah,
and you still lost. Meanwhile, I lost, and I've been over here chilling out. And if I was old enough, which I wasn't at age 5, I'd have a beer. You know, I'd have a nice cold one.
Yeah,
you know, I'm just not the survivor type.
And in an apocalyptic type scenario. Like, I could probably set up ambushes and, you know, take other people's stuff until someone bigger and badder than me came along and waxed me. Yeah. So, I mean, I could, like, gather a whole bunch of people, but then you're the warlord and someone's going to get you, probably from inside because they're jealous. I'd be like, look, guys, I have no interest in being in charge of any of this. I'm just trying to hold on. So, you know, I'm trying to, you know, steal enough beer from someone that's brewing beer, whatever I can do to, like, if you want to run this, be my guest. Right. You don't have to kill me. Just ask, and I'll let you have it.
But the funny thing, everyone wants to bitch. Nobody wants to run it.
Right. Everyone wants to be a gangster until it's time to do some gangsta ass shit.
And everyone who's run it never wants to run it again.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is why I'm surprised Donald Trump wants to run for re-election.
Why do you like? And that's the other thing. What kind of ego? I mean, I think we all know the answer, but. What kind of that sounds like the worst job ever.
I feel like you either do it because you're truly altruistic. I mean, think about this. The guy is in his 80s. He's really done what he needs to do. His kids are running everything.
Yeah,
at this point, his business wife.
Yeah, his wife, who looks like she hates him, is a dime piece.
Listen, man, you don't fuck with those Eastern European ladies.
Yeah,
like if you think Donald Trump is a bad person. Man, Melania's probably fucking that shit up. Because, I'm telling you, she speaks like 18 languages.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, oh, she's so dumb. She's just a model. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
don't get me wrong, she got the high cheekbones from Eastern Europe, but she also probably knows how to shiv you.
Yeah.
Because she's from Eastern Europe.
Yeah.
Eastern Europe's not a joke.
Right. She could probably, like, assemble or disassemble an AK-47 blindfolded.
Yeah. I mean, Eastern Europe is essentially like Mexico.
Yeah.
As far as, like, how rough it is. Like, people go to Mexico, oh, Cozumel's great. Yeah, okay, go outside of Cozumel.
Yeah.
See how nice it is.
Yeah.
You know, go outside of Tijuana. See how well you like it if you don't get fucking shot.
Right. Dubrovnik's great. Okay, go a half hour outside of it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you go to, like, Estonia, Latvia, any of those, fuck,
Yeah.
man. You know, it's rough, man. It's rough over there. And, yeah, the women just get great cheekbones and long legs, and they use it to get the fuck out.
Yeah.
But they still spent time there, learn all the shit they can learn, language-wise, and then they get the fuck out. Mm-hmm. And they marry out, and that's what she's done.
Yeah.
But if I had to pick a stone-cold killer between the two of them, I'm picking her. Like, the fact that dude stayed alive and hasn't gotten a fucking shank up his ass from her,
Yeah.
he must be doing something right. Okay? She must like him to a certain extent. That's all I'm saying. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's like, I've seen enough of those movies where you don't fuck with them.
Yeah.
It's like the Russian mafia. You never hear about them. Why know why? Because they're doing shit and keeping everyone's mouth shut because they're willing to do shit.
Speaking of the Russian mafia, this is completely off topic, but I don't know what else you expect from this show.
Look, we only got 4 minutes left before we hit the hour mark. Might as well go for it.
I watched for the first time The Equalizer.
Oh.
Never seen it. And I was like, this is pretty cool. And was there 2 or 3 of them?
Yeah.
Equalizer? So I got to watch the rest, but that's the Russian mafia.
But there was the other one. What was the... Viggo Mortensen was in it.
Yeah, I just saw the first one.
So this is an older movie.
Okay.
Viggo Mortensen was in this... shoot, man. I'll have to remember it later. But that was about the Russian mob. Fuck, man. They do a lot of people smuggling.
Yeah.
From Russia.
Well, that's also, like, the Taken.
Yeah.
Which, like, how...
It's probably real.
No, and that's exactly how I'd respond to the same situation. In my head.
Right.
Like, that's what I... Like, I'd be there, like, you know, breaking people's arms and stuff.
In one snap, too. Only takes one snap.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, I watched a UFC fight the other night, and this dude snapped a dude's arm.
Oh.
Now, apparently, he just dislocated it at the elbow, and then the referee waved it out. Like, he called it, and the guy literally, I guess as he pulled his arm back in, it snapped back into place. And he was like all pissed off that the ref stopped it.
See, it's not really broken.
Like, bros, if your arm was not bent in the right direction.
It's like with little kids in baseball. I shouldn't say little kids. But, like, well, my youngest would. But the kids at, like, my oldest age, like, when they get hit by a pitch and they have to take their base, like, they're mad. Like, no, I'm fine.
I'm good.
It hit the dirt first. Like,
Think of all the excuses.
Yeah, take your base. No. It hit, like, no, it hit my hands. My hands are part of the bat.
It's a foul ball. I swear. I swear, it's foul ball.
Like, look, I swung.
Didn't you hear it? It went ting. It did not go ting. Ting. See, I hear it now. I'm still hearing
Like,
it.
they get mad. Now, my youngest would get mad, too. The other kids of his age would look like a sniper hit him. Yeah.
Drop it on the ground. Oh, man. It was, with the, what was I just, I can't remember what I was talking about. Good ending to a show.
Yeah.
Please like, subscribe, comment, and share. No, it was so thrilling. I forgot. No, but thank you for listening. Go hit up Adam Chubbuck, TACMD.com for all your real estate needs. Want to thank him for sponsoring this show. Without him, with viewers like you, this show wouldn't be possible. That's not true. This is the low budget show. It barely costs anything for us to run this show. But no, we appreciate Adam for allowing us to keep doing this show. One of these days, we're probably going to hopefully update some of the equipment. I was looking at like the lavalier mics, so we didn't have these huge things in our face the whole time.
I think it's cool.
It adds ambiance, sure.
Yeah.
But at least with the lavalier mics, we could do this somewhere else other than the basement.
Right.
I mean, we've only been doing it for 3 years in the basement. Why switch it up now, right?
I guess we could have another card game on the
And we could actually use the poker table for poker rather than the studio. And I use the word studio very lightly.
Purely in the academic sense.
Yeah. The funny thing was, like, someone asked me the other day, is like, well, why don't you do video? And I looked them straight in the eye. I was like, because I can't figure it out.
And then you'd have to clean the basement.
Right. Yeah. I wouldn't clean the basement. It adds to the ambiance to see all the mess. But
it's like Wayne's World.
my wife was like, he's like, if you have another person down there, I'm gonna have to clean up. I don't want. It's like I heard Mike already sees all my dirty clothes down there. I was like, Mike doesn't see shit.
Yeah,
like
I'm paying attention to none of this.
Yeah, right. I know. It's like, I mean,
however, now I will.
Yeah. Well, it's like he probably has seen our Christmas bag of, or like the bags we keep every single bag from Christmas gifts, and we stuff them in a big bag right behind you. And so we just have a whole bunch of bags for Christmas gifts and none for birthday gifts. So I can't use, I don't have anything to wrap any of this shit with for birthdays.
I would.
But right. So I tried that and my wife got all pissed off at me.
I think get pissy about this is what we're going to, this is the hill you're going to die on.
Right. She was like, this is a Christmas bag.
Yeah.
I was like, it's a bag. Like, you don't have any birthday wrapping paper for me to wrap the birthday gift in.
I put it in a plastic bag, except the fucking government stopped letting us get those.
Right. Can't put, yeah. I got paper bags, but then it looks like a school book. Because the old school book covers were paper bags.
I had to pay 10 cents for that goddamn thing.
I did. Although, you know what? I use them. At this point, I'm paying my 10-cent tax, so I have recycle bags. I put my recycle bag.
I refuse. I walk out there, and I'll walk with everything in my arms, like 10 things. Do you need a bag? Nope, I don't.
But you wouldn't use a paper bag for like to put your recycle stuff in to take out to your bin?
No.
See, I do. That's what I use it for.
No, I have a little trash can like on the porch. So I just throw everything in there.
Living life differently.
And it's the transit terminal.
Do your kids actually put it in? Because my kids don't. It'd be like it doesn't exist to my kids. Like they don't see it. It's a big brown bag sitting on the floor with like tin cans and some paper in it, and they just leave shit everywhere.
Well, yeah, that's their MO. Yeah. So that's what mine do. They just leave their shit all over the place.
They used to leave socks all around, but now the dog will eat it. So now they know if they want to keep socks on their feet for another day, they have to take when the socks come off, that goes directly in the basement.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's going in the dog's stomach. We ended this episode like 4 minutes ago.
Yeah.
So please like, subscribe, comment, share. We'll talk to you next time. We appreciate you listening.